visit the state of welfare in Kentucky. Lines a dozen cars deep outside banks in the middle of the night. Police in a handful of cities say when those crowds gather on the first of the month, crime rates go up. Wkyt's Kristen Kennedy has spent the last 4 months tracking down information about these lines, the reason for them, and the danger behind them, and why a perfectly legal way to get government assistance is looking criminal to some legislators.
We're in the middle of a blizzard at 1 in the morning on the first of the month, and we're not alone.
Are you guys waiting out the storm here?
Yeah, it's cold.
Lines are growing at each of the 3 banks on Highway 25.
Yeah, they line up to get money in case we need some groceries, I guess.
You'd think they were giving out free money.
Well, see what it is, it ain't time for money. Get on the card.
But the ATM's open, isn't it?
Yeah, but in the morning it won't be.
Oh, at 9 it won't?
No, I don't know.
What card is it?
It's Direct Express.
Direct Express is a prepaid debit card, the government's recommended way to receive federal benefits if you don't have a bank account.
At 1 o'clock is when the money is posted on our debit cards.
They're benefits the government gives to disabled adults with limited income or someone unable to work because of a disability.
Believe it or not, $700 isn't a lot of money to live on.
To qualify, they have to decide that your condition is severe, that it's found under their list of disabling conditions, that you can no longer do the work you did previously, and that you can't do any other type of work. Every one of these vehicles swiped a Direct Express card into this ATM to pull out hundreds in cash.
When you're trying to live on $700, you got to pay a $450 rent, a $150 utility bill, you got a $50 water bill. You know, it's just you're broke at the end of the month, so you come and you get your money.
I don't know what they were getting ready to go do.
We showed our video to a handful of legislators, and State Representative Jonathan Schell
They always had this rule that anything past 10 o'clock, nothing good can happen.
was the only one willing to talk with us about what he saw on camera.
Anymore, whenever you need something, you're not going to your neighbor for help, you're not going to your church for help, and you're not going to yourself to help. You're going to the government for help.
In Kentucky, more than 900,000 people get government assistance. That's about 21% of our state. And that does not include people on temporary state assistance like KTAP or TANF.
It's particularly galling that it's made so easy to just gain access to cash. You're going to take good people and with that kind of temptation open up the door to all kinds of abuse.
Tea Party activist David Adams had just as many questions as we did after watching our overnight interviews. Why are people allowed to withdraw federal assistance by the hundreds, and why in the middle of the night? In the last 3 months of writing emails, requesting information, and making phone calls,
if you go at 9 in the morning on the 1st.
We finally got in touch with the Treasury. They oversee Direct Express. They hadn't heard of any recipients lining up to withdraw funds, but weren't surprised. It is legal.
We knew the funds were available right away. That's actually one of the advantages of electronic payments. But we had never heard about people actually forming up early in the morning before normal business hours.
They seemed more concerned about the safety of people getting such a large amount of cash at night.
We would counsel people to use the benefits as they need them. Keep the balance on your card because that way it's safer than carrying cash.
But here's what police and court record keepers are telling us. In a handful of small towns, they're dealing with a noticeable increase in arrests during the overnight hours on the first of the month. No police departments would comment on camera, but they would confirm that information.
Why don't you just go tomorrow at like 9 a.m.?
We just do it every night because we might not get out in the morning. See, we live like up in a holler. We got a certain time on the rent and electric, and because they'll cut it off, they don't care.
Have you ever went to an ATM at 9 a.m. on the first of the month? There's a line about twice as long as this.
It's 9 in the morning on the first of the month, and there is absolutely
No line today for the ATM.
That was on April 1st. Went to the same banks we visited back in February, and the longest we had to wait in any line was 12 minutes.
No line at this bank either.
Far less than that overnight wait 2 months earlier. In Knox County, Kristen Kennedy, Wkyt.
Representative Shell is passionate about this issue and about passing 2 proposals in Frankfort, drug testing welfare recipients and creating a sliding scale for working parents to continue to get benefits until they make enough on their own.
Can show you that big squall line of thunderstorms that is racing its way on into town as of right now. Leading edge of this is where we're going to get the gusty winds of better than 60 and 70 miles an hour. You see the individual boxes. Those are actual severe thunderstorm warnings where you see the yellows there. We actually now have a tornado warning that is out for the Campbellsville area, especially the western half of Taylor County. That will go until 10:15 Central Time. This is the Central Time zone here. Also includes Greene and Hart counties to go along with the Taylor County area. Approximately 25,000 people included in that. That is for a Doppler radar indicated tornado. Nothing confirmed with that one. But for folks in the Taylor County area, obviously you need to be in your safe shelter, your safe spot. As of right now, above all else, you want to protect the head from any potential flying objects. And the goal is to get to the center point of your home or structure. If you got a basement, that's where you want to be. If you don't have a basement, it's to get to that lowest floor. Put as many walls between yourself and the outside as is possible. So what we can do with Defender, we can go up close and put Defender in what is known as 3D mode. So we can look at the vertical cross section of the thunderstorm. So as you can see, all the deep dark reds here, that's where these thunderstorms are really growing up. Here's the one we've been watching that is in question for that possible tornado just to the west of Campbellsville. So the tops on those thunderstorms are way, way up there. That extends farther to the northeast. Now let me show you something that is both cool to see but scary to deal with. Look at the leading edge of that. You notice how that is just a sharp line. That is an indication that Frankfort down into Salvisa toward the Lawrenceburg area, you are about to get hammered by strong winds, damaging winds, potentially knocking down trees and some power lines. That has been the calling card for these storms for the past several hours across western Kentucky. A lot of trees down in Louisville. Had an 83-mile-per-hour wind gust a little earlier today into western Kentucky. Wow.
Yes. This crowd gets bigger and bigger.
There aren't many places on Earth that hold more stories, memories, and history than this.
I didn't know you were going to get that.
Lifetimes worth of experiences.
Of course I did.
And there aren't many at Ashwood Place Senior Living in Frankfort.
No, I don't mind saying how old I am. I'm proud of it, in fact.
That have seen all that Jean Broom has.
I mean, you know, when you hit 90, you're proud of it.
Proud of a life she was able to share.
Yeah, that's him with Sissy.
With her one true love.
And his name was Paul Johnson, and so he was called PJ. We would look at brochures, and we started drooling over trips to Europe. And I said, you know what? If we're ever going to do this, we better start, because we only have about 10 more good years. So we started. And that's about what we had.
PJ and Jean saw the world together.
We came home from a trip. He said, I think that's got to be our last trip. And I said, yes. And when he died, I stayed in my home for about 4 years and preparing to leave it.
He left for her memories of living life.
Well, I've always been curious about the whole world. Everything that's in it, I want to see it.
And no regrets.
So I've been excited today.
Except maybe one.
If I had some red on, I'd match the balloon colors, wouldn't I?
PJ and Jean never had children. It was always just the two of them.
We went to Europe 4 times.
So when her new large extended family at Ashwood asked if there was anything she'd always wanted to do but never did.
Oh, I've wanted to ride a hot air balloon as long as I can remember. The basket's smaller than I was expecting it to be.
Jean supplied the dream.
I didn't think.
It just took Aeroforce balloons to supply the reality.
I'm ready. I'm ready.
What kind of lady Jean must be to bring out this amount of warmth and emotion?
Oh,
that ain't hard.
That's the way to do it.
You like this, don't you?
in so many people.
She sits next to me at the dinner table, so we've been waiting and waiting.
All right, we're going to put a little heat to it and we'll just float away.
It's nice. It's a nice thing for...
All right, everybody's taking your picture, so goodbye.
Bye-bye. Oh, my goodness.
I think she's just looking around, and the beauty, for one thing, of being in the bluegrass and seeing it from up in the air, I think it must be a thrill.
Our building's shaped like an airplane from the air.
They don't call it a bucket list around Ashwood Place.
I'm going up someday, but not in a balloon.
Because lists have an ending. They just ask, what's next?
I think that's her dream she wanted to have, so she got it.
It's the kind of adventure PJ would have loved.
Aren't the hay fields pretty? Where they bale the hay?
Jean Broom has had plenty of adventures in her life, but not for quite a while.
Isn't that wonderful?
Yes, it is.
It's hard to do alone what you once did together.
Quietness, and you're just up there floating. It's peaceful.
But it's impossible not to notice the eyes of the heavens watching over her flight.
Can you see the moon up there? Can you see it just above the horizon up there?
Yeah, yeah.
A perfect view.
Yeah. It's nice.
Of one more great trip.
Was it worth the wait?
Yep. Yep.
From the very best seat in the house. In Frankfort, Sean Moody, WKYT.
Well, it's less than a month to go in the high school football season. The playoffs winding down in a couple of weeks will crown 6 champions from across the state. Hello again. Welcome into another edition of High School Game Time. I'm Lee K. Howard. He is the pride of Butler High, Brian Milam.
Who are in the 6A semifinals. We start tonight in Georgetown, where the Scott County Cardinals have all but owned 6A football this season. They're the highest scoring team in Kentucky. Tonight they face Henry Clay, a team the Cards have pounded the last 3 times. A combined score of 209-75. But it's our game of the week, and it was a good one. Here's Ryan Lemon.
A great game with as good a fourth quarter as you'll see anywhere. Scott County leading 22-21 going into the fourth when DJ Davion Jackson goes 16 yards. Henry Clay goes up 27-22. But back comes Scott County. And on the reverse, Grayson Miller, 52 yards. Cardinals go back out on top, 30-27. Next play from scrimmage. DJ Jackson busts loose again. This time he goes 71 yards, and just like that, Henry Clay's back out on top, 34-30. But next play from scrimmage, I'm not kidding, Keith Guy from Scott County. He goes 63 yards for the touchdown. That put the Cards up 34-31. Henry Clay had the ball, driving deep into Scott County territory with 12 seconds on the clock, but the play won't work. Cardinals make the sack. Cardinals win it 34-31.
You know, we want to be the best team in this area. And, you know, we don't talk about winning state championships and those kind of things. We talk about being, let's be the best in this area.
I'll take that momentum going every time, even though we're down, but we always try to get that momentum going.
Scott County hasn't had to come from behind all season, and they had to do it twice in the fourth quarter to win this one, their 5th region championship in a row. Hashtag Ryan Lemon, WKYT, game time.
That is awesome. Great atmosphere. Congratulations to the Cardinals. Now we go to 4A. Mercer County shocked Boyle County last week. Will face Lexington Catholic for the 2nd time this season. Earlier this year, the Knights handed Mercer a 34-16 loss. The winner of this game to host a semifinal next Friday. Let's go to the highlights. Mercer County was chanting Pardue Nation, and why not? But the Knights have won 8 in a row over the Titans, down 3-0. Lex Cath turns to Marcellus Logan. He barrels his way in, 7-3 Knights. It's now 10-3 Knights. It's Logan again, blasting his way from 16 yards away, 17-3, and it looks like there's going to be a rout. But here comes Mercer County. Chris Crawley-Goodman shows off that right fielder's arm. Lane Peevler shows the second baseman speed. He gets behind the defense at 17-11 at the half. But Lex Cath puts it away on the first series of the third. Guess who? Marcellus Logan, 58 yards, sprint for 6. He had 4 touchdowns on the night. Catholic takes control, and they win 49-14.
We had 2 opportunities at the end of the first half to put them away. We probably got a little too cute there at the end of the first half and came back and just ran Markellus, and he took care of the rock and put it in the end zone a couple times for us, and just a great team victory.
A pair of undefeated teams going at it in Paris tonight. Mason County and Bourbon County in 3A. First quarter, second play from scrimmage. Colonel Strike first. Brett Holman takes the handoff and shows off his speed all the way to the 7-0 score. Bourbon driving again. Dalton Pope rolls out, finds Jackson Highlander in the end zone. That's a touchdown. Mason fighting back though. Rashawn Nelson goes in, making the score 14-7, but it's all Bourbon all night. Highlander catches the pooch kickoff, and you know why we're showing this play, don't you? He takes it all the way in for the touchdown. Bourbon moves on 47-21. They will host Belfry next Friday in a rematch of last year's semifinal.
You know, we got a tough game here next week against who I assume will be Belfry, might be Pike County Central, but you know, kids played well tonight, and we'll get back to work. You get to practice on Thanksgiving. That's always a good thing.
Belfry, we've been waiting for this for a long time. They've always been in the back of our minds.
Alrighty. Great 5A matchup. Anderson County hosting high-scoring Franklin County. First play of the game. Ross Cox takes the handoff. Just like that, 66 yards to the house. It's 7-0 Bearcats. Franklin County comes right back. They give it to the tank. Chris Roberts. Somebody please give this guy a scholarship. Look at the power and the speed. 48 yards, we're tied at 7. Anderson County would lead 20-14 at the break. Bearcats trailing 28-23, less than 5 to play. It's not Billy Kilmer, it's Zach Carmichael with the game winner. Anderson in a thriller, 31-28. They are back in the state semifinal.
More football, more mud down in Somerset. It's a 5A matchup. One loss Madison Southern, undefeated Pulaski County. Riley Hall hooks up with George Gregory for the early touchdown. 6-0 Maroons. Extra point was no good. Southern gets into the end zone at the end of the first quarter. Damian Harris gets to the outside and just gets in front. Look out for the cameraman. Yours truly. 2-point conversion was good, 8-6. Pulaski's Aaron Smith takes the direct snap, goes up the middle for the 8-yard score. Watch out for the slide. Slides in safe, and Pulaski wins a close one, 32-28. The Maroons will meet Anderson County in the semis next Friday in Lawrenceburg.
It's hard. It's hard to leave 7 kids.
They've been apart for 9 months.
They love having Dad around, and we've all talked about what it's going to be like for them.
Chief Warrant Officer Stephen Wkyt in the Middle East, his wife Karen at home with their 7 children.
About 10 minutes.
They've dealt with deployment in the past, but this one is different.
Hi!
This time, one of them is returning to Frankfort almost unrecognizable.
99 pounds in 36 weeks. For me, it hit a crucial point 3 years ago when my mom died from obesity-related diseases.
At her largest weight and her lowest point,
I've been wanting this for so many years.
Karen was 287 pounds.
And I just basically cried out to God. I didn't know what the answer was. And after I did, I saw a commercial for a program, and I thought, I'm going to try it.
For 9 months, Karen stuck to a program that was working.
We cut off Skype and FaceTime back in January. I had raised his hopes before. Previous deployments, I had said, I'll lose the weight and you'll come home to your bride.
Pounds started dropping, self-esteem started soaring.
And if I succeeded, I wanted a chance to surprise him. It's the girl who's not afraid to dream anymore, the girl who can go after and live life. I can hide behind you, isn't that great?
Hiding so her husband can't see her as he's flying in.
I want to see the surprise on his face. I want to see that look on his face.
Karen starts walking to the man.
Go get him!
She now sees walking toward her.
My goodness, a new person.
From there on out,
CW5 Stephen Wkyt.
their eyes did most of the talking.
And the best part is they're all back home.
In Franklin County, Kristen Kennedy, Wkyt.
Life isn't a matter of miracles,
I see what to do.
but of moments.
I get you supposed to get on the fan and go up that.
For 7-year-old Kelly Melton,
First she was a gorilla,
these
Waxy an ape,
are fun, carefree moments.
But then he turned into a cute little bunny.
Moments that have been hard to come by over the past 6 months.
He had fell asleep in school a couple of times, which is something Kelly wouldn't do.
On November the 8th, 2012, Kelly's mom took him to the doctor with an ear infection. There, a nurse discovered something more.
Something just wasn't right. He was looking pale, so she ran a blood test and came back that it was leukemia.
Acute lymphoblastic leukemia. Cancer.
Slip your shoes off?
Didn't know a whole lot about it. You know, I'd heard kids and adults get it, but I had no idea how many until we got up here, and it's just very hard.
You guys should never get cancer.
I think he understands to the point.
Yeah, because that stuff is cold.
Right there. There are times he doesn't feel good.
It's cold.
That he's tired, and of course he's lost his hair. But other than that, he'll just tell you, I have leukemia.
But in a world of social media, even cancer can be battled with friends.
Best friend Ariel made him a Facebook page called Kicking It for Kelly. It started Martavius Nellums. And he got on there and looked at it. Immediately, within a couple of days, Martavius was at the hospital with Kelly.
Now this is a real game-worn jersey.
I can do this every day.
Now say something to Martavius because I'm recording.
Go Wkyt!
And the hospital visits continued. From other members of the UK football team, including head coach Mark Stoops. He even formed a friendship with the biggest Wildcat of them all.
What's Nerlens like?
We all just can imagine. And he's pretty tall.
On May the 4th, Nerlens took Kelly as his special guest to the Kentucky Derby.
I already know my number. What's your number? Number 3, the blue one.
He doesn't look at them as athletes. He doesn't care that Nerlens is 7 foot tall and a basketball player. He doesn't look at it that way. Coach Stoops, even though he calls him Coach Stoops, he's just a man who has come to see me and spend time with me and talk to me.
But even the support of the Big Blue Nation
I went to their locker room 2 times.
and the unfailing spirit of a little boy
No, not yet.
What? I've got to feel. Get that hand down there. Get that.
can't numb the sting of needles
I'm going to count. Kelly, I'm going to count.
and the cruelness of chemo.
There.
Oh, that hurt.
Me and him were talking, and I just started crying.
Oh, every other time it hurts. I just
it
don't
does.
say it.
You know, that's my little boy. And he said, Dad, why are you crying? And I said, well, I'm worried about you, bud. And he's like, don't worry about me. He said, I'm going to beat this. And he said, if I don't, he said, I go home to Jesus.
I told my dad one day that I would kick this, and if I don't, I go to God. So we named it Kicking It for Kelly.
So you're trying to kick cancer?
I'm going to kick it in the butt.
Lee K. Howard, WKYT.
It began with calls from concerned drivers.
The animal control officer made numerous attempts to go and try and locate the sheep.
Firefighters wanted to help, but a tractor-trailer accident put their work on hold.
90-degree weather, I mean, it's hot. It's going to be needing some water and food. I mean, it's got plenty of grass around it too, but it don't have any access to water.
Drivers stopped to take pictures.
For a minute, I thought it was a mountain goat. I'm like, are they transplanting mountain goats here like they do the elk in Tennessee?
About noon on Friday, help finally arrived.
If somebody can rappel down.
Drivers in both lanes noticed the commotion.
75's backed up real bad.
You may be wondering why these crews can't simply climb up the bluff, but as you can see, it's extremely loose, and you simply slide right back down again.
It may be just an animal, but I mean, it's not safe for it to be up there. It could dart out in front of traffic.
Eventually, the animal tried to help itself, and then it disappeared in some thick brush. Moments later, the sheep found a road and a quick path to a farm.
Get after it, guys.
And to a fence with cows.
We're going to lasso it up here. Oh, you got it caught.
Finally, into the arms of the farmer. And moments later, a bucket of cold water. Now the question, who does it belong to?
I'm going to give you a tag number.
But all that matters now is that a sheep that caused so much commotion is simply safe and sound. In Whitley County, Phil Pendleton, WKYT.
Rat has been missing since Tuesday, but it finally took the help of a man familiar with caves to coax him out tonight. The hours of shouts and pleas weren't in vain. Marcy Gardner all but climbed in the hole herself to rescue her dog, Rat. Come on, Rat! On day 4, right at sunset, with help from an expert cave crawler armed with scraps of bologna.
He was scared. He didn't know what to do. So I had to coax him down a little bit.
Rat came out. News spread fast among the 24 involved in the rescue.
I want to thank everybody, the Garrett County Animal Shelter, the man that I don't even know his name, Keith with the bulldozer or the dozer, whatever it is, and then our caveman wherever he went.
Garner's emotion is hard to hide.
I mean, he's just like one of my own.
Rat's mom says he will not be hunting anytime soon. In Garrett County, Kristen Kennedy, WKYT.
WKYT's Bill Bryant has the bottom line.
Good evening. The filing window opens this week for candidates seeking office next year, and former Lexington Mayor Teresa Isaac is hinting that her name could be on the ballot. Appearing at WKYT to talk about a charitable event she's involved with, I asked her if she plans to run for something in 2014. She said you never know until the filing deadline. That's in late January. There's some speculation that Isaac will run for council at large. The top vote getter in that becomes vice mayor. Isaac was vice mayor before being elected mayor in 2002 and then defeated for re-election in 2006. 2012 Republican presidential nominee Mitt Romney has stirred up talk after leaving off Tea Party favorite Texas Senator Ted Cruz when he talked about serious White House contenders in 2016. On a network program over the weekend, Romney said that someone like New Jersey Governor Chris Christie stands out as one of the strongest lights for the GOP. He also mentioned his former running mate, Congressman Paul Ryan, former Florida Governor Jeb Bush, and Florida Senator Marco Rubio. Reports indicate a tell-all book coming out this week will say that Romney passed on Christie as his running mate in part because of his obesity at the time. Kentucky voters get this year off, but many states hold elections tomorrow. Next door in Virginia, Democrat Terry McAuliffe has been leading in polls for governor in the Old Dominion. Republican Attorney General Ken Cuccinelli trails McAuliffe by about 7 points in polls just before tomorrow's vote. Our in-depth interview with Lexington Mayor Jim Gray is now available on demand at KentuckyNewsmakers.com. Bill Bryant, WKYT.
The Big Sandy snakes through eastern Kentucky, acting as the natural divide between our state and West Virginia. You can call it scenic, serene, and now polluted.
I'm not a green tree hugger or nothing, but I knew it was wrong, and it was killing me every load I put in there.
He didn't want his face on camera, but Dino Miller described in detail the fracking water he would dump into the Big Sandy after using it to extract natural gas. He says it came out of a rig on this property right outside Louisa, and it was water his employer, Eagle Well Service, was supposed to recycle, treat, or bury in a disposal well.
So the first load, I was guilty as they were. I put my first load in a creek just down the road, and gray, slimy water, and I was tore up all day. I told my truck boss I was going to quit, if I had to do it again. So he made it a little easier on my conscience, I guess, by putting it in the pit by the river.
You can't just dump the water that you got from a well out onto the ground or into the environment, because it's not just water. The key environmental concern is that the fluid they use to inject into the well for fracking, it includes several other chemicals.
By several, the University of Kentucky's Dr. Audrey Sawyer means hundreds of other, sometimes unknown chemicals.
The things that are impacted range from frogs to fish to people who are swimming or drinking downstream.
The Big Sandy stretches through several towns around 30 miles of northeastern Kentucky land.
We hauled all night and part of a day and maybe a half an hour intervals.
When the state came out to investigate Miller's claims, they say they smelled strong petroleum and chloride odors in the area, and they saw a very visible sheen in the water, very unnatural to the Big Sandy River. They issued violations on the spot to 3 men they say are responsible.
Jack Justice, Jordan Keene, and Russell Parsons all received a notice of violation from the state's Department of Environmental Protection.
Do you want to talk with us on camera about that?
Russell Parsons is the man who owns the business cited on the violations, Eagle Well Service. Its headquarters is listed at this address in Salyersville, and we went there looking for answers. We didn't find Parsons' business or storefront, just his home on a hill.
We would be more than happy to come up, speak with you.
In a 15-minute conversation, Parsons claims our whistleblower is actually an extortionist.
So no one told him to dump anything in the Big Sandy?
Parsons says Miller wanted 50 grand out of him, and when Parsons didn't pay, Miller dumped water where it's not allowed.
So he lied to the EPA.
After repeated requests for the Eagle Well Service owner to talk on camera,
do you have any papers that show that he asked you for $50,000?
Parsons declined and said the EPA would fine him additional amounts of money if they saw the story on TV.
So it was kind of word of mouth that he wanted 50 grand from you.
We asked Miller about the extortion claims. He said when he quit, he asked for back pay owed for working overtime. The EPA has cited Russell Parsons and Eagle Well Service in the past. In 2009, they made him pay almost $2,700 because he was late performing a required mechanical integrity demonstration on a well. Those demonstrations are the most common way to show a well isn't leaking, contaminating, or polluting underground sources of drinking water.
Where's the working man supposed to go to try to fix things, you know?
Miller says he went to the EPA back in April after months of illegal dumping. May 1st, the state issued violations, but the violations have yet to be enforced. When we called the Kentucky Division of Enforcement, they hadn't approved actual enforcement of the issued violations. That, we're told, can take months, and so far no one has assessed penalties.
Why'd you come to us?
Where else am I supposed to go? I thought I'd done all I needed to do, and it never changed. It wouldn't have had to fall to me if we had a damn inspector around, you know, to make sure we were doing what we're supposed to do.
In Lawrence County, Kristen Kennedy, Wkyt.
Man, yes.
He stands.
Thank you, yes.
5 days a week.
What's up, fam?
At one of the loudest intersections in town. Doesn't take long to realize.
All right.
He's the reason for the noise.
Amigo, gracias.
He's a walking ad for a local car wash.
See you at the car wash real soon, my friend.
Spreading goodwill.
God blessing on you, sir.
And gratitude.
Thank you, yes.
Sparkling maybe more than the company name he wears.
You gotta tell people all the time, don't let anyone ruin your day. All right, Kentucky American water! That's right.
Daryl knows that, like himself, every person he waves to has a past. Daryl's past is darker than others. It's one he doesn't talk about. He doesn't even like to give his last name.
Just when you think there's no hope, there's hope. God always gives you a way to escape. Just thank God I'm able to work, you know, because I was homeless at one time before I came here.
Actions in his past led to homelessness.
Hey man, how you doing?
And he ended up sleeping beside an intersection.
All right.
Far different than the one where he now works.
Each one of these guys will get a number when they walk in. At 9 o'clock, they pass out the air mattress or mat.
Daryl spent days looking for a job and nights looking for a place to sleep inside the community inn.
Because it was cold back when I started. The line would be so long, I'd be way up past the stairs. But I knew I was getting in, so I just had to be patient.
His patience paid off.
Told me that they was hiring at Mr. Sparkle. I said, do you want to go? I said, yes. It's the job, you know.
But you've never done car washing or anything?
No.
People still remember Daryl as the man who wouldn't stop searching for a job.
Hey, bro.
What's up, OG?
How you doing?
Man, I honk at you every day on
Yo, man, I've been missing you, man.
A lot of people come in here and want to sit around and just wait around. He wasn't one of them people. He said, I know this ain't the place for me. And next thing you know, I started driving down Richmond Road. I said, that's that guy.
Daryl hasn't had to sleep at the community inn for about a year now.
So every time I see him, BB.
He's got a car, a place of his own, and a job.
Yeah,
it's a success story. I love it.
I look at it as a job. No shame at all. You know, honest living.
In Lexington, Kristen Kennedy, WKYT.
The Bible didn't talk about civil rights. It talked about this was an offense against God.
Read. The sin of fornication, it's gone. The sin of sodomy, gone.
If conservatives and Christians are bigots for opposing homosexual behavior, then why aren't homosexual activists bigots for opposing Christian behavior?
Be holy, women and men.
Union Church in Berea is progressive.
There's this passion and energy in this congregation.
Her members are proactive and passionate.
Gathered in this holy place once again.
I got goosebumps. I felt this strong sense of like, this is where I need to be.
I'm gonna go tack up that fabric downstairs.
Okay. Rachel Small-Stokes and her wife moved their family about a year ago from New York to Kentucky.
We talked openly about what it would be like to have a lesbian couple come in.
Understanding, freedom, and flexibility. Okay, good.
Excellent.
Excellent.
In Kentucky, homosexuals aren't always welcome in church.
Holy, holy.
Union Church welcomes them in with flying colors.
God loves us all.
On both her left and right, she displays in letters too big to miss
that we are all children of God.
All are welcome.
Feel that love of God in themselves.
No kidding.
Be an agent of that grace.
No exceptions.
I'm a white, straight male.
Kent Gilbert is lead pastor.
I've had as many privileges as this society could possibly afford.
You should just come to choir. They would love to have you, and they're a great group.
He's been preaching in the pulpit for more than 16 years.
All people, gay people, straight people, white people, black people, brown people of every shade, have gifts of God in them.
And he won't take credit for the church's inclusive attitude.
We knew that we had gay and lesbian members. We know that there were gay and lesbian members of our community. And we knew that many of them did not feel welcome in churches. And that did not feel right to this congregation.
It smells so good.
Or just smell things that are
Every church has always had
it's a
gay and lesbian members. But the question has been, have they been welcomed?
His associate pastor knows here they are.
Most merciful God, like clay, we are shaped by the hands of time.
I am not alone. You know, there is a congregation full of people who are struggling with how to be full of integrity and live their lives the way God is calling them to be.
Pastor Small-Stokes practices what she preaches, acceptance.
Raise the walls of strength so we can stand right when fired and tested.
The stories that I hear of the pain that people go through being rejected from their churches, it's so heart-wrenching. And yet it is good and important work to be able to help them find a place again where they can feel that kind of love and that kind of inclusion in God's work.
In Berea, Kristen Kennedy, WKYT.
For travelers in counties north and west of Lexington, it didn't take long for this to freeze into this.
It was like still wet mostly up there, you know, starting to change to ice and snow.
For Becky Young, the quick drive 34 miles from Dry Ridge to Georgetown didn't seem as dangerous as it suddenly became.
And I try not to hit my brakes because I know you're not supposed to, but I was afraid I was going to hit something else, so I did, and then it made me spin and I flipped a few times. ended up on the side.
When her car came to a stop, she was okay.
As I was flipping, I was terrified that he was going to see me and then he would wreck.
It was her fiance, Bo, traveling behind her, who she was now worried about on the icy hill.
He had to go all the way up and turn around and come back. 15 days we're getting married.
For Becky Young, it's easy to smile now.
I'm so thankful.
Yes.
So glad you're safe.
Because as fast as the weather can turn,
definitely blessed today.
Yeah.
Appreciation for what you have can just as quickly become clear.
Tracking, alerting, protecting. This is WKYT News at 6.
Whoever did this deserves to get caught, and I swear to God, I hope they find out who did this.
Outrage and shock in a central Kentucky community after a gunman kills 3 people inside a store. We're tracking the investigation.
Here in Danville, it's been a tense day, so we talked with the community and got reaction from them about the manhunt for a shooter.
Neighbors talk about the loss of 2 of those victims, the reaction in our team coverage from Danville.
She helped many people like herself who lost family members in Flight 5191, and she touched countless lives here at LCA. More on the life of Lois Turner Dees.
WKYT News at 6 starts now.
We begin tonight with a breaking news alert involving the deadly shooting at a Danville pawn shop. Good evening. Police wrapped up a news conference about 15 minutes ago. We now know the names of all 3 people killed.
Earlier today, the coroner told us the names of 2 of the victims, Michael and Angela Hawkinsmith. They were the co-owners of that business. Police also told us there is now a description for the suspect they're looking for. WKYT's Sean Moody has been tracking this investigation all day. He joins us now live with the breaking details. Sean?
Well, just a few minutes ago, we finished talking with Danville Police Chief Tony Gray, and we now know the identity of the 3rd person who was killed inside this pawn shop this morning. That man is 60-year-old Daniel P. Smith of Richmond. Now, police say Smith was shot and killed along with Michael and Angela Hawkinsmith sometime around 9 o'clock this morning. Friends tell us the Hawkinsmiths are part owners of the shop and their 2 children. A 9-year-old boy and a 14-month-old girl were actually inside the shop with them when it happened. In fact, police say it was actually that 9-year-old boy who called 911. Now, we've learned those 2 children are okay and they're now with their grandparents. Police have also now identified a suspect. They say he was able to get out through the garage door and ran away through an alley between the pawn shop and a nearby business.
We are looking for a white male. We believe he was wearing a green camo type jacket. He's believed to be 40 to 50 years old. He exited through the garage door of the business there, went through that alleyway between the dry cleaning and the pawn shop there.
Now, just before we went on the air here at 6 o'clock, we noticed a woman walking up to that police tape with flowers. And we expect to see a whole lot more of that throughout the evening. Live in Danville, Sean Moody, WKYT.
Sean, thank you. This crime, of course, shocking people who knew the victims of this shooting. Michael and Angela Hawkinsmith owned the shop where that shooting happened. WKYT's Victor Puente talked with a neighbor who says she is distraught about the loss. He continues our top story team coverage.
The people I spoke to today told me they lived next to the Hawkinsmiths for about a year and a half. They say the 2 of them were always there for friendship or advice. These former neighbors told me they couldn't stop thinking about their 2 young children.
I still can't believe it. I mean, my baby, she's 11 years old and was just texting Angela last night.
Tammy Price says her younger daughter often played with Angela and Michael's 9-year-old son. Angela was helping her older daughter plan her wedding and was going to sing in it.
I kind of knew it was them because they were the only ones at the pawn shop, and I was like my mom. I didn't want to believe it.
Combs says she was in contact with Michael's brother this morning. He told her their son hid in a closet with his young sister during the shooting.
As far as he knew, the kids were okay.
Yes, Angela homeschooled, and so she took both the kids down with her at the pawn shop.
Bryce says she takes comfort in knowing the family had recently gone on several trips together. No matter how their parents were taken from them, she says these children will always know they were loved.
They were really, really good people.
Price tells me the Hawkins Smiths had also taken in a foreign exchange student this school semester. In Boyle County, Victor Puente, WKYT.
Well, as you can imagine, the crime has people living in Danville on edge. WKYT's Jerica Insco talked with people there who say they're concerned for their families and their neighbors as police search for the killer.
There were some tense moments throughout the town of Danville this morning. Some places were put on lockdown and other people told to stay indoors. And it's all because of a manhunt for a shooter. Helicopters circling and police parked outside of schools. It was not any other day in Danville.
It was kind of hectic. Our hall was a little frantic.
I never dreamed that this would happen.
Schools, businesses, the greater downtown area of Danville shut down.
It was a very serious matter. We need to stay indoors.
It was a ghost town as we searched for people to talk with about what was happening.
I've never seen Danville, everything being shut down in Danville at one time.
Scary doesn't quite cover it for parents with kids in school, unable to take them home.
It's like somebody's ripping your heart out almost, because you're not right there with your kids. You don't know what's happening with them.
But as we talked about the fear of it all, minds quickly switched to the realness of what had occurred.
It's a sad time for the community, probably in Danville.
The town has returned to normal and back to daily activities as police tell us they continue to investigate. In Danville, Jerica Insco, WKYT.
Well, of course, there are still a lot of questions surrounding this case. We will continue to track this situation into the night. Follow WKYT on Facebook and Twitter for the very latest information, and you can keep checking WKYT.com for the very latest. Our Jordan Valines will have an update from Danville that's coming up for you tonight on WKYT News at 11.
We're also keeping a close eye on the First Alert Defender right now. A round of wet weather is heading our way, and the rain could arrive just in time for the kickoff of some high school football games. Meteorologist Jim Caldwell is tracking all that rain in the First Alert Weather Center. Jim?
And you're right, Sam. It could come rolling in, especially for kickoff and mainly for a lot of folks out there at the second half and some of the games along and west of I-75. Let's go outside with Defender currently scanning the skies, and we are picking up on some of the showers getting into our area now. We'll go up close and check them out right now, crossing into Franklin County. Some heavier rounds of rain back out toward Christiansburg, seeing some of the heavy stuff, but right now just to the west of Frankfort. So it's coming. It's moving more toward the northeast, so might actually skirt the city of Frankfort. We work our way off to the north, and just north of Owington, some heavier activity also getting cranked up. No lightning associated with that, but expected at any moment. These are not intense thunderstorms, just some heavy rain producers with some gusty winds also associated with them, and plenty of moisture coming in out of the Gulf of Mexico to fuel a lot more of these going into the evening and especially overnight tonight. You can see all of it out to our west, trying to get together and spread out in our direction. The rest of the evening, a few storms around at 7 o'clock, basically what we're seeing currently. It's not going to change that much here for the next 25 minutes or so. We go to around 9 o'clock, everything becomes a little more widespread, and especially late tonight and overnight. More showers and just heavy rounds of rain. So we're also going to have to keep a close eye on some of the creeks and streams and some of those low-lying areas that have, of course, that flood potential. I'll have much more on all of this coming up in the full forecast, and that is in just a few minutes, guys.
Family and friends are planning to honor a Lexington man who was stabbed to death just weeks before his wedding. Family members will hold a vigil for Stephen Campbell tonight at 7 near the suburban mobile home park off Price Road. Investigators say the 22-year-old died after being stabbed during a fight Wednesday night on Mark Avenue, not far from Georgetown Road. Police say they're still trying to figure out what led up to that stabbing. So far, no charges have been filed.
We're getting a new look tonight at the hit-and-run crash that left an officer and his horse partner with injuries. Paco, the horse, is recovering after he was hit by a car last night on West Main Street. Officials say the driver hit the horse on the left side and continued driving. Police say they take it seriously when any of their officers are injured in the line of duty.
Our human officers, our canine officers, and our equine officers are all officers, and we don't consider them animals, we consider them partners. And so in this situation, an officer and his partner were injured during a hit-and-run accident.
Police are looking for the drivers of a silver car and a tow truck that drove by right after that accident.
Well, she was known for overcoming obstacles. Lois Turner Dees lost her husband in Flight 5191 back in 2006 and quickly became an advocate for families of the victims.
Today, she lost her own battle with lung cancer, a cause that she spoke about on WKYT multiple times. Our Kristen Kennedy visited Lexington Christian Academy, the school where she worked, to talk with those who knew her well.
Flags are at half-staff here at Lexington Christian Academy in memory of Lois Turner Dees. Dees worked here for close to 30 years and touched dozens of students and families' lives.
Lois is just an incredible individual, as her whole family is.
Lois Turner Dees' friend Dave Harris prefers to focus on her life's accomplishments.
It's a part of us that's gone, but Lois' memory and her efforts and her work and her family is forever.
For close to 30 years, she's served students at LCA as a teacher, administrator, and founding board member. Their soccer field is named for her late husband, who died in Flight 5191. Turner Dees was an advocate for families like her own who lost loved ones on the flight.
Her focus was always on someone else. Even though she may have been dealing with some difficulties over the last few years, in particular with her illness, the focus, even right until the very end, was how could she serve someone else?
Chairman of the board, Kurt Brown, says Turner Dees was selfless. Even when diagnosed with lung cancer, she used her battle as a platform to promote regular radon testing inside homes.
She saw it as a blessing on her to be able to serve here at LCA, but in reality, the school was blessed by her presence.
Leaders here are planning a moment of silence during tonight's football game, which happens to be homecoming. At Lexington Christian Academy, Kristen Kennedy, WKYT.
Lois Turner Dees' visitation will be Monday night at Southland Christian Church. Her funeral will be held there on Tuesday.
Police received some help from a witness today that tracked down a wanted man. The chase happened this afternoon in a wooded area off I-75 in Richmond. That witness tells us the man was holding a sign off the 87 exit asking for money. When police approached, the man took off running. We're told he jumped across a 15-foot embankment behind the Richmond Center. Bobby Bowen tried to help the police out, and he got in on the chase.
I was just trying to help him out because I just knew that, he was struggling. He was running, and, the suspect was running too. And I was like trying to figure out, should I jump in? And I guess somebody just spoke over me and said, help.
Police called off the search late this afternoon. They say the man is wanted in Boone County for a misdemeanor charge.
A family sits in court as the man charged with killing their loved one faces a judge. They talk with WKYT for the first time coming up.
And some exciting news today for the Wildcat faithful. What you need to know if you are planning on heading out to Big Blue Madness.
The family of a murdered Lexington teenager is speaking out today about their loss.
Patrick Puckett died in May after being shot at an apartment complex in Lexington. This morning, the man accused of killing him, 20-year-old Ernest Wheeler, was in court. Puckett's family was in the courtroom and say they plan to follow the case until the end.
When the real trial comes, and I want everybody to be there and stand up for him and know that we are here for him and we're just going to try.
Wheeler's family did not want to go on camera, but they did tell us that they are praying for the victim's family.
The head of the Legislative Research Commission has resigned in the wake of an internal review. Bobby Sherman said in a letter of resignation today that he had been considering leaving for a while, but he wanted to stay around long enough through the end of the internal review. The review looked into the way his office has handled sexual harassment complaints brought on by 2 legislative staffers against a former lawmaker. That lawmaker, Democratic State Representative John Arnold of Sturgis, resigned last week. Sherman has worked with the LRC for more than 30 years. Big Blue Nation, get ready. It's time to talk tickets for this year's Big Blue Madness.
Yes, it is. The Memorial Coliseum ticket office will distribute tickets on October 5th. Tickets are free again this year, and there will be a limit of 4 tickets per person. Now, if you plan on camping out, UK Athletics is asking fans to wait until 5 a.m. on Wednesday, October 2nd before setting up. Fans are not allowed to use generators this year or have propane tanks and open flames. Big Blue Madness is on Friday, October 18th at 7:30.
Now, your hour-by-hour forecast with meteorologist Jim Caldwell and First Alert Defender.
A slow-moving cold front has finally arrived, at least the leading edge of it. The showers and a few thunderstorms along that boundary are in Kentucky. Let's see what's happening on Defender for us here this evening. And there you see some of those showers and storms. A little more of the light stuff down to our south, at least at this point, out toward Bowling Green. But you get back toward the north, and that's where we're watching a little flash of lightning and some heavier rain. Sweeping right now through Franklin County, some light rain in the northwestern sections of the county. And it looks like it's going to miss Frankfort. Now we'll ease on up toward the north, and there we run into some more heavier rounds of rain, even some lightning associated with this a little while ago, right outside of Owens. And so they are picking up some heavy rain, gusty winds associated with that. So we'll just call it a good gusty thunder shower in place now. Nothing strong or severe, at least at this point. Now there's certainly that possibility out there. Watch all the moisture kind of funnel in from the Gulf of Mexico. There is plenty of it out there, but luckily none of it going to severe weather, severe level criteria all across Louisiana, Mississippi, and Arkansas. It's staying pretty quiet as far as that's concerned. Now it's out there and it has that potential again. I got to keep that in mind. We look around, and of course the rain isn't in Frankfort right now, so nice and dry. 82 degrees, 81 down in London. You can even see some sunshine peeking through. 82 Georgetown, and then we go to Winchester, also coming in with the low 80s. We'll go hour by hour now. Clouds increasing, isolated showers and thunder showers possible in between now and then you see the big push of moisture really trying to rush into Kentucky overnight, especially early tomorrow morning. Some heavier rounds of rain, even a few thunder showers also in the area. We go into the morning, and things are starting to quieten down as far as rain is concerned here in central Kentucky. Still holding on out into the eastern mountains, though. Eventually, it clears out of here and looks like a decent Saturday evening for you. Now, again, if we can get the clouds out of here quick enough, we could likely go into maybe the mid-70s. Out there currently, we're in the low 80s. Lexington, Richmond, London, and down to Middlesboro at 79 degrees. The cooler air already arriving with that rain toward Louisville, and that's what will be the trend going into the second half of the weekend. The cooler air once we get these heavier rounds of rain out of town. Look at Sunday. 68 degrees your high, early morning low in the 50s, low 50s at that, and then we make the switch going into what will be the first full day of fall, which is Monday, and that's when you run into some very pleasant weather as well. 72 your high. I mean, that's not a bad looking 7-day once you get past this weekend, or mainly tomorrow afternoon, guys, so not bad.
All right, look forward to next week.
Next week, yeah, that's what we'll do. Yeah.
I still like the weekend, wet or not.
Wet or not, there you go.
Thanks, Jim.
Rob is up next, and there's a new staff at UK, but they know all about Florida.
Coming from Florida State, you don't have to tell Mark Stoops and coordinator DJ Elliott very much about the Gators. And some unfortunate news, a former Wildcat in court today in Oklahoma facing domestic violence charges. We'll tell you more about that coming up next in sports. Kentucky has the weekend off while Florida plays Tennessee in Gainesville, and then the following weekend the Gators come into Commonwealth Stadium to take on the Cats. Now, Mark Stoops and his staff are not familiar with Florida's 26-game winning streak over UK. Cats haven't beaten the Gators since 1986. But having coached at Florida State along with defensive coordinator DJ Elliott, Stoops knows all about Florida, and that's good.
It is good. We didn't play our best last year at Florida State on either side of the ball against them. They played well, but I am familiar with these guys and have a lot of respect for them and their program, and I know Will and how tough he is and how tough their team's going to play.
Definitely something that helps you, when you played them before and you're familiar with those type of players and those coaches.
Another commitment for Matthew Mitchell and the UK Hoops team, Alexis Jennings from Sparkman High near Huntsville, Alabama. Jennings is ranked the #9 post player in the nation and the 64th best player in the 2014 class by ESPN. She had offers from Alabama, Georgia, Florida, Florida State, and Middle Tennessee. Former Wildcat DeAndre Liggins, formally arraigned on several felony and domestic violence charges today in Oklahoma. Not guilty pleas entered. Liggins was arrested August 31st. His girlfriend says he attacked her in front of their 2-year-old son. The Oklahoma City Thunder waived him back on September 6th. Former Tennessee running back Arian Foster is saying he took money at Tennessee his senior year. Foster played for the Vols from 2005 to 2008. His comments came in a documentary titled "Schooled: The Price of College Sports." No indication as to how much Foster received.
And it's for the
big moment for A.J. Ellis last night in Arizona. The former Dunbar Bulldog hammering this 8th inning home run to put the Dodgers on top, and it lifts LA into the playoffs. They finish off the deal here in the 9th inning. Kenley Jansen getting Aaron Hill to fly out to left, and the Los Angeles Dodgers celebrate as National League West champions. Over in Louisville today, the announcement of the Kentucky-Indiana Hall of Fame Challenge Cup. On Saturday, January 11th, Freedom Hall will host 5 high school basketball games, 4 boys games and a girls game. Each game will pit a team from the Bluegrass against a team from the Hoosier State. Proceeds will go to the High School Hoops Hall of Fames in both states.
We're doing the right things for the right reasons. And I think all of this just has such a positive connotation to it. We are a midwinter classic with 2 great basketball states, honoring our veterans in Freedom Hall. It doesn't get any better than that.
And getting back to college football, when EKU and Morehead State kick it off tomorrow up in Morehead, both teams will be looking to get back into the win column. EKU fell at home to Coastal Carolina. Colonels were crushed 51-32, most points ever given up in Wkyt Stadium. Morehead State is struggling under first-year coach Rob Tenyer. The Eagles have dropped their first 3. Now it's the big rivalry with the Colonels.
It's Morehead State. It's Eastern Kentucky. I mean, I keep telling the young guys that don't know, if they don't know what that means, then they better grab a hold of somebody and go for a ride. It's always a good time.
You know, going into this week, you know, as an offense, we want to be more technical sound because, you know, that was where a lot of our miscues came from. So we expect a different game this coming week. We expect to be more, you know, precise in what we do.
And that's sports. We'll wrap it up after this.
We continue to keep you updated on this triple shooting in Danville today at the pawn shop. We do want to let you know they are looking for a white man, 40 to 50 years old. And if you think you saw anything this morning between about 8 and 9, Danville police want you to give them a call.
The victims murdered this morning in Danville, Michael and Angela Hawkinsmith and Daniel P. Smith of Richmond. Much more come on WKYT tonight at 11. We'll see you then.